What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 155, Skarlet Overkill. Before we get into everything, I just want to let you know, please check the links below for all things ABJ, whether it be follow me on social media, merchandise, tips, donations, whatever you want to do, it's all down there. We got Patreons. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe helps a long way. If you're listening to this back on the audio side of platforms on your favorite podcast app, whether it be Spotify, Google, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, I think that's what it's under, Apple Podcasts. I'm not an Apple user. Sue me. I don't know. So make sure you hit that 5-star review. Leave a little review what you thought of it. I know Spotify added a ton more features where you can comment during the podcast as well as leave little feedback. Any feedback that's left on the audio side of things, I will alert and I'll read them in the next episode and give you opportunity to read your feedback of episodes. Screenshot it and make a little hashtag, tag myself and my guests, and say what you thought of the episode. Word of mouth helps these podcasts grow. I really enjoy learning about different cultures, different people, different art forms, different ways of expressing yourself. And no, this is another one here where it's a little step away from the pro wrestling side, and we're going back into the world of drag. Except where I like my drag is definitely the horror and the Dragula side, I guess we could say. So my guest here today is a seasoned veteran, we'll say, in the form of drag, as well has their own cosmetic cosmetic products that you can support as well, called Overkill Cosmetics. We'll get into all that and much more. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest of the evening, Skarlet Overkill.
Hey,
what is going on? I said this is the bloodiest podcast I've ever done, and I love it. You
weren't lying.
Yes.
You weren't at all. And you said makeup problems. I mean, look at all this blood. I'm having makeup problems today. That's what happened.
Yeah. If you cannot find, I don't know much about contour, so if I say the wrong thing, don't crucify me, people. But if you don't have contour or something, just covered up with scars and blood, and you know what I mean? It's
absolutely, yeah. All you need is a little like liquid latex, some cotton balls, things like that. You're fine.
So introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Skarlet Overkill. I am a Harrisburg, Pennsylvania native. I've been doing drag now for almost 10 years. I do a little bit of kind of everything. I know we were talking earlier off camera, and so I do pride events. Then I also do stuff with like horror and like punk rock, things like that are my main kind of like go-to. But I do some like comedy and some like bright, colorful, fun things as well for pride. But yeah, I on the side of not doing drag, makeup artistry, I go to school in the fall to be an esthetician. So I have a big love for skincare, makeup, that whole world, things like that as well. So that's why I have my own makeup company as well, Overkill Cosmetics. So you shop small, LGBTQ owned business. I started working on it during the pandemic because I was bored, I had nothing else to do. That's when I taught myself prosthetics. So I decided to search online, and I found a company in LA that I'm working with who helps me design, package, things like that, all my makeup. It's shipped directly to my house. When you buy from me off my website, I ship it out of my house to you. Everything's vegan, cruelty-free, as I'm a vegan and cruelty-free dead bitch myself. So yeah, check out my website, buy some makeup from me, and come see me in a show.
Yeah. So Lily bought some of your makeup at School County Pride. Did a little review. I think Lily got the lip liner, I believe, and they loved it. Put it through all the tests, and I believe the biggest thing was it did not smear off, rub off, the whole nine, and they beat the hell out of it that day. Yes, Lily in the chat says the lip liner was amazing.
Yes, I will say I don't want to toot my own horn, but I give credit where credit's due, even if it's to myself. And my lip products are the company I work with are very good. Even the lipsticks. I mean, I've had girls who bought it, and their main thing was like, well, I work all day and then I go to lunch and then I have to redo my lipstick after I eat. And the one girl was like, I ate a whole entire fucking cheesesteak and this lipstick stayed on. Yeah. She's like, how? And I'm like, magic, I guess.
Yep. Awesome. So, when did you find the form or the art form of drag race, like drag race? I'm sorry, of drag, and how did you fall in love with it, and then realize you could start doing it yourself?
Yeah. So I've always been like an artsy kind of kid. In high school, I was in photography classes, yearbook class. I took any and all art, drawing, things like that. I honestly spent most of my time in high school, if I wasn't like in class, in the art room doing something artistic. So I graduated high school. My parents, like most, were like, go to college, go to college. And I'm like, well, I want to do something with art, and I don't want to have that massive amount of debt and be like some freelance artist and not have it pay it back. So I kind of like took a step back from my artistry side of life and things for a while. And then Drag Race aired, and I started watching Drag Race, and I was like, oh, wow, like this is cool. Like I had come out of the closet at that time, and I was like, oh, well, this is something I could do. You know, I'm in the LGBTQ community, and I'm an artsy kind of person, and I want some other way to kind of channel, you know, my art and get it out, because I was like not doing anything at that time with art. So I kind of like just started watching YouTube videos, taking advice from other seasoned queens in my area, with like, you know, everything from how do you contour to how do you glue down your eyebrows, you know, everything. And just kind of taught myself makeup. And like I was saying earlier to you, during the pandemic, taught myself prosthetics and things like that, and just continue. I love learning and educating myself. And it doesn't have to be makeup. It could be anything in general. So once I really started learning makeup and things like that, I continued to do, like, I do my own hair, things like that. And I just kind of got out into the drag world, and now I love it. I just love doing drag. My biggest thing is just being able to, like, you know, I love being able to express myself and my artistic side, and then just having that feedback from the audience and them coming out and just enjoying the show and having fun and living for the entertainment is just, it's so cool, because it's like a two-way street. Like I get my expression of my artistic side out, and the crowd gets to see an amazing show. And just like, you know, those, you know, the people, you've been to drag shows that come to drag, they love that stuff. They eat it up. So yeah. I love it.
I think the best part is like, I'm kind of even learning about myself and this, my art is like, sure, I would like the subscribers and the numbers and the views and the growth and all that, but I got to a point where just like, it's more about my expression. And this podcast is essentially, for me, my journey of learning of new things and talking to people and educating myself. And I'm essentially making a video journal, and if other people enjoy it, then awesome. But at the end of the day, this conversation is 100% for me, and I'm allowing other people to watch it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the cool thing about drag, is when you can go out there and put yourself out there and be proud of who you are and who you love and what you're about, but then also add your tweak of what makes you special, whether it's if you're into glam or if you're into comedy or if you're into horror, and you can express that through that as well, but still be sexy and still be this and that. And then people, like, once again, you're just being you unauthentically, and then people attach to it. It's a beautiful thing when art works that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too, like you said, being yourself. I mean, I couldn't just go grocery shopping like this. So like, but I love this stuff, like I said, style of drag. So, you know, to be able to have the platform and the venues and the opportunities I have to just go out there and show whatever skills I have with the horror realm, because again, I love doing prosthetics, special effects, things like that. Like it's just so, I don't know. I just love it. I just love it so much. I can't even like put into words like how much drag like just excites me, and I love it. And it's a very big, like, you know, like you were saying, like, I'm sure you probably heard, or if you haven't, you will, like a lot of drag queens say like how drag, like, for lack of a better word, saved their lives and things like that. And it really did. You know, I grew up in a very religious, conservative family. I don't talk to a lot of my family today because of their values and beliefs and things like that. And when I came out and then started doing drag, all that, it's like, you know, I got hate from my own family just for being who I am. And I was like, I'm going to keep doing it, you know, and through drag, I've made my own chosen family, you know, the drag community and the LGBTQ community that, you know, is in my life now, my friends, my drag family, things like that. That's my family. And it may be chosen family, but sometimes chosen family is better than blood family, because, you know, they all support me and what I do, you know, and some of my family just doesn't. So
yeah, you find your tribe. Yeah.
You do.
So you kind of said a little bit growing up about who you are as a person. Like you said, you fell more into like the artsy side of things, like growing up, like just more like the arts, photography, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sucked because, like, growing up in my, like, where I went to high school and growing up in the area that I grew up in, it was very like everyone played sports, you know, people lived on farms. It was very that kind of like dynamic. So that's why I spent a lot of time in, you know, the art room at my high school, because I was like, well, nothing else outside of this art room like intrigues me or I want to do. So I did a lot of that. And again, like that's why I'm glad I have drag now, and I'm glad drag is a thing, because it's like, you know, I would have still being in this area, I would have wasted like, you know, my talents and my creative side by not like finding drag. So that really helps me like tap into that artsy creative side of things.
Yeah. Here's a quick question. So like in the wrestling scene, wrestlers will do like a death match, or they maybe they paint their face as well. And I've seen wrestlers who will like bleed during a match and they don't clean themselves up, and then they'll go to the the gas station on the way home with like a 2-hour drive, because to them it's like a badge of honor to wear the crimson mask sometimes, or they'll be at the bar drinking covered in blood. So like when you do a performance and you're full like this, have you ever like stopped at a gas station and almost forgot you were in costume, and then people are like, what?
Absolutely.
Are you okay? Like
no, absolutely. I've literally done that before. I've literally done shows where, you know, I'm done performing, and usually I'll take like the hair and the outfit off, and you'll see me walking into like, it'll be like midnight or something. I'll be walking into sheets and like t-shirt and like jeans or something, but I look like this on the face, and the looks and the stares, you know, it's a little bit of everything, because also at midnight when you're in sheets, most people are probably drunk. So some just kind of look at you like, what the fuck am I looking at? And others are like so drunk, like, yes, you look so good.
yeah. Is this October? Is it October?
Yeah.
That is great. So when did you start pursuing the industry, and how did you get started?
So I started drag in it has been 10 years, 2014. The first time I performed was at Stonewall. It's now called Vogue in Allentown. They were doing like an amateur, it was called Star Search. And it was like an amateur competition kind of thing. You came in, you performed, you it was based off of like crowd like engagement, things like that. But it was my first time. I showed up in my Forever 21 outfit that I bought, and my makeup that looked like I just got hit by a bus. Not like this though, just bad makeup. And I did some performance to Kelly Clarkson, and it honestly was, again, terrible, but it was my first time on stage. But I knew that like everyone has to start somewhere, and then from there I just kind of like progressed, and I did other competitions. The one competition I did was here in Harrisburg at Stallions. They used to do what was called amateur drag race. And it was a competition for any kind of drag artist that was new to doing drag. They had only been in it for a few months, haven't won any titles, weren't like seasoned, things like that. And then you were judged by queens, kings, etc., who were seasoned. And it was a really great tool to utilize for people who had no idea how to do drag, because they really instilled, like, you had your challenges, just like Drag Race. You had your challenges, bottom 2 lip sync, someone goes home week after week until, you know, you won. They gave prizes away to the challenge winners, things like that. But a big thing was like, they talked to you about your makeup, your outfits, your hair, even things, crowd engagement, how you take tips from crowd members, things like that. So it really like helped you not only shape like your drag persona and learn about the artistry and the world of drag, but also like the professional side and being humble and interacting with the audience in like a respectful manner. And I honestly wish they would bring it back, because
It's like drag college.
Yeah, it honestly was. It was a drag college competition, a mixture of everything all in one. And that's how I found my drag mother, a drag family I'm currently part of. My drag mother was, they had what was called like coaches, and they helped you with prepping you for challenges. If you needed something from a coach, they would help you. But that's, my drag mother was at one, and she said, you know, I see that you have some kind of like fire inside of you.
There you go. Someone says, looks like a Hellraiser victim, or one of the Deadites, or one of the Hellraiser killers.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, that's, my drag mother came to one, and she just was like, hey, I see this mass amount of potential in you, and you just need like the tools and maybe the drag family to like kind of like guide you to where you're going and help you get to where you're going. And she's like, so I would love to take you on as a drag child, be in my drag family. And I did learn a lot from her, you know, from anything from booking myself to makeup to, you know, a pageant I did for her, just all that stuff I learned from her. And so I wish they would bring something like that back to not only this area, but like other areas. I mean, there might be things like that in other areas, but I wish they would definitely bring it back here because it was a good way to teach some of these newer queens, or entertainers in general, how to be really like the professional side of things. You know, anybody can teach himself makeup and go out there and do a split with a pretty face, but when you're in this world, it's the entertainment business. You're getting paid for doing what you're doing. So you also have to have that professional side and humble and then respect. Because in the day, you're coming to my show and you're paying me with your money that you made in your paycheck. So I need to respect you and be humble of that. Because if it wasn't for you or the other patrons that come to these shows, one, the shows wouldn't happen. And two, we wouldn't be doing drag because we wouldn't have the money to do it.
Yeah, and especially you live in a time now, and I don't want to get political or getting, because we've already, as a nation, as a country, as a world, we're divided enough. But like, you're already in an industry where you're being attacked for just wanting to express your art and who you are. So like, it's almost like you treat every show, even if it's in a bar or a brunch, or if there's 20 people there or 100 people there, you treat everyone as like, this can get taken away at any point. You know what I mean? Like, depending on what state you live in, this could become banned for dumb reasons, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You're right. Whether I'm at a bar of 20 people or at a college of 400 college kids, I perform my ass off no matter who it is. And I give it my all because that's what they're there for. They're there for the show. And that's what I'm there to give them.
Yeah. So I want to kind of rewind some terminology you were saying there for people who don't understand the terminology, right? So I think in wrestling, we have our terms that like we take for granted because that's just common. So when you say drag family, drag mother, can you break down exactly what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So drag family is pretty much like, again, it's like that chosen family. Usually a queen, king, whoever will start like what's called a family, where they're someone who usually, like my drag mother was a seasoned queen at that time. So they're usually a seasoned entertainer, and they will, you know, whether they approach a new entertainer or the new entertainer approaches them and they join their family, they become their drag child, whether that's a drag son, drag daughter, you know, etc. And they join their family, and then that seasoned entertainer or entertainers who are in that family that you're now part of help you with, like, you know, like for example, my drag mother, I asked her like, what's a good way to get more bookings? What's a good way to get my name out there so I can perform more and I can travel, things like that. So they kind of like guide you and help you learn more about not only yourself as an entertainer and grow as an entertainer, but like the entire world of drag and how to, you know, book yourself, perform. You know, they can even help you with like, this is how you style hair, this is how you teach you how to sew, things like that. So it's almost like it's a family, yes, because you usually have a mother, father, or something like that, and then children. But it's just like a group of like drag entertainers who rely on each other for, you know, anything from help with makeup to outfits to even sometimes like my drag family, emotional support and just being there for each other through tough times in our personal lives.
I love that. And then another thing, to kind of go back when you said you went to this place, like you went to this performance and you got there. So was it something you were like looked up online and said, oh, this is something that I can just kind of walk in and try for the first time? When you did that, now, did you go alone? Did you go to a group of people? Like, did you have a support system to go with you of like taking this in like going into this journey of I'm going to go up and perform in front of people and I've never really done this before or put myself out there like that? Like, walk us through that emotion of the first time ever stepping in the stage or finding this industry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the first time I stepped on that stage at Stonewall 10 years ago, let me tell you, I thought I was going to shit myself, first of all. I was nervous as fuck. I was back there shaking. I had my heart racing. I was scared shitless because the venue was a 18 and plus. Like the night that they did it was 18 and over was the crowd. So there was at least like 200 people there. So like for your first time to be on stage and have that many people like screaming and cheering in the audience, yeah, it's very intimidating. It's very scary. So I somehow made it through, but I went with my roommate and a few friends. Like they came with me as like a support system to help me, to be there for me. Cause I was like, I don't want to do this alone. Like I'm scared. I don't know if like, you know, if I'm going to make it out alive. Like, I don't know. So many thoughts were going through my head at that time. Like, what if I fall on stage? What if I embarrass myself? What if, you know, my wig falls off? Like just all these things are running through my head. And I'm thinking, and then I got there and my friends who came with me were like, listen, it's your first time you're ever doing this. it's a good way to put yourself out there and express that artistic side. And if you fuck up, you fuck up. It's your first time. You're going to learn and grow from here. Your first time that you walk on stage isn't going to be perfect. You don't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to do drag, and then all of a sudden become RuPaul. That's not happening. Everybody starts somewhere. And so just hearing them, reassure me that I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to kill it no matter what the outcome is, gave me that kind of like momentum, that push to really just go out there and give it my all. And then from then I realized that like, wow, like this is something that if I really dedicate my time and energy to, and I'm like passionate and dedicated, like, oh yeah, I can go far with this.
Every good success story is someone, if you look at any success story, it is a person standing on a mountain of their failures. And that's essentially, you grow on all your failures, all your mistakes, everything that you've done that you're maybe not even proud of. You're like, but every single time you do that rep, you're getting one step closer to the top of that mountain that you're trying to build. Lily says here in the chat, and questions are available in the chat. If anybody wants to put them out there, please do. But how liberating it was that you got past the intimidation into your first performance?
Oh yeah. After I got off that stage that first time, I was like, first of all, I was like, well, great guys, I didn't shit myself. And then secondly, I was like, that was so fucking fun. Like, I want to do this again and again and again. And then from there, I realized that like,
you got the bug.
Exactly. I had the bug, and this is something I want to do. And I realized that again, if I just put my best heel forward, I could make something for myself. And yeah, I mean, now I'm doing drag every weekend. So
yeah. So in those beginning stages, how was it finding yourself and finding your identity or your name or your personality?
It was hard because as someone who, as you could tell, and I've, said many times, someone who's into more of that horror punk rock kind of scene of drag, when I started, there wasn't representation like that in my area. A lot of the entertainers and the queens were pretty and pageanty and things like that. And again, nothing against that. Everybody has their specific style of drag, and there's different styles of drag for a reason. But that's how my area was. And, I remember one time, performing, and I did at the amateur drag race competition at Stallions, I did an Alanis Morissette song. And I'm stealing that. Go ahead.
The best heel forward.
But I remember doing that and thinking to myself, like, like everybody else that I was performing with was like very pretty, and they're doing Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and things like that. And then I'm coming out grungy as fuck doing Alanis Morissette, and I'm like, so I'm going to stick out either for the right reason or the wrong reason or somewhere in between. But going out there and doing that as myself and how I wanted to do drag, whether this person said, oh, that's weird, or, oh, that doesn't fit in this area, or, oh, like, you're going to perform that number, but everyone else is doing these numbers. Like, just to have that, honestly, for me, having that those negative comments in the back of my head fuel me to do better and do more drag, because then I use it as I'm going to do this, whether you want me to do it or not, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to show you that you're going to like it. And I'm going to keep progressing forward and doing better. And so there was a lot of, like, in my area, backlash at first for definitely my style of drag. And there is still to this day, unfortunately. I know Miss Misfit was on your show recently, and her and I are in that whole spooky queens and, punk rock kind of vibe. And a lot of times around here, there's not many venues or shows for that. And we kind of have to find our own way or travel for things. But it's definitely come a long way. And there's a lot more representation in the drag community for, the alternative spooky kind of queens. But I'm still here to bring more progression to it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I don't mind pop music. I think pop music is really fun. It's pop for a reason. It's pop culture. But if I hear the pop songs, it's like, all right, I'm with it. I get it. That's the vibe here. But then someone like you comes out and like it's Rob Zombie. I'm like, fuck yeah, metal. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like it amps me up because it's like I feel more like this. I identified with this more. You know what I mean? It's fun to see the stuff I'm into as well. And speaking of Miss Misfit, super bummed. I'm booked the same day their next brunch, Say Gay Brunch, and it's an emo night. And I'm an emo kid at heart, so I definitely I'm bummed I'm going to be missing that.
I know, same. I was just talking to her yesterday, and I said, "How dare you do an emo night and not book me? How dare!" But
I love what they're starting because people are really, really, really latching on to what they're doing. Sorry, what they are doing, and it's I think it's special. And I like going to the show last time and I helped film it. People in the community are performers who weren't even booked were showing up and like support and supporting. And I was like, that's special, because a lot of people, especially in the wrestling scene, if I'm not booked, I'm not coming. You know what I mean? And for it speaks a lot for how Misfit conducts themselves and how they treat others, that people come out even if they're not performing to show that love and support. And I think those Say Gay brunches in Harrisburg are going to become bigger. And I think it's only a matter of time before they're in small breweries and they're probably taking up a bigger stage. HMAC, get ready. I'm just saying, you have big venues. I think Say Gay brunches are going to be a big deal.
Absolutely. And it's just like you were saying, being able to find those venues and those spaces and those crowds to really kind of like help queens like myself and Miss Misfit really like, be ourselves and give the alternative and the spooky and stuff like that kind of drag. It's once we get in the door, like it's because there's such a crowd for it, Obviously you were saying you've been to the shows before. I've gone to shows that I've not done where I've seen them do punk rock, horror things, whatever. And then obviously that's kind of my big thing, my big niche. I always try to like include something punk rock or horror into all my performances. And it really it really helps you like get noticed because you stand out from the rest of the, when you're doing a show and the rest of the entertainers might be doing, for example, the pop music, and you come out doing punk rock music. It really helps you stand out and like find your people at the same time, because there's people that come up to me, I did a show on Saturday and I did Avril Lavigne from way back, like Skater Boy, girl, things like that. And like the people come up to me and be like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like, and they're like, their jackets with their like patches and their like, spikes and studs on, being like, oh my God, you gave us like punk rock realness. Like there's people out there like that, but like they don't come to a lot of drag shows sometimes because a lot of the shows sometimes are more of that pop kind of thing. Yeah. And then when you throw in the punk rock and alternative queens into it, it brings out like our crowd. And I like that because then you have both the crowds mending together and you're all coming together for the same thing, drag.
Yep. And even Miss Misfit, like their style going to their shows, I want to bring a different style of drag performer in every show. So it's almost like a variety show, which I think is smart. I think that's how a good show should be. It should be, you should have your glam, you should have your horror, you should have your comedy, your high energy dancers, because there's so many different variables to this industry. And to be able to showcase all of them, I think is really, really important. And for someone, if it's your first time doing drag or seeing a drag show, or if it's your 100th, you get that variety of different styles and performers.
Absolutely.
So what were some setbacks or adversities you had to overcome in this scene, either as a performer or just in your general life?
I think the biggest thing would probably been just like, again, I know I keep stressing it, but like just really being myself. I mean, there was many times where, I did shows and afterwards, you're the only like alternative kind of queen on the cast, and you see all the pretty girls that you're on cast with getting all this attention and things like that, and sometimes it beats you up inside. You think like, oh well, should I start doing pretty drag? Should I change and like fit into their box because they're getting more of the attention after the show, or should I keep doing what I'm doing and try to make my own way? And that battle happens in your head, and I think that's the biggest thing that sometimes is like is kind of like kept me from doing certain things with my drag, because I'd be like, oh, I want to do this. I have this idea in my head. I want to create this. And I think to myself, well, wait a minute. If I do that at this show, this is the other entertainers in the cast. They're going to do something completely different. And then what if like the entire like crowd is like, ooh, well, we want to see, the pretty girls and the things that they do. And then I come out and do my thing. And then I don't get the same reception. And, so that's definitely a big, like, that or has been a big struggle with my drag, is just being able to like really be myself and really put out like what I want to do, because sometimes people don't get it, or you have, like I was telling you off camera, like, sure, Drag Race is great. It gave drag entertainers the platform to be on TV around the world and to, make drag kind of like the forefront of entertainment, so to speak. But at the same time, it sucks because it's like, most of those entertainers on Drag Race are pretty girls who do a bunch of splits. So then crowd members who don't know anything about drag and all they know is from Drag Race, they come to these shows thinking like, oh, well, that's all I want to see. Everybody has to look like that. And everybody has to do that. And then they see something different. They're like, well, wait a minute. Is that drag? Like, and yes, it is. So while that is like something that was a struggle, I'm using it now almost as a motivation to go out and show people who come to those shows who are expecting to see what happens on Drag Race, then to see something like this, then it makes them second guess, like, oh, wait a minute, there's different styles of drag. Like there's different types of entertainers. And I know you talked about it when I was watching, for example, the Miss Misfit episode. Like, it's just like wrestling. There's different styles of wrestlers. They all do different things, and they all have some kind of stage presence or stage name or shtick that they do on stage. And drag's the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely love that aspect. If you can change one aspect of the industry, like how you were saying before the Drag Race, and I do totally agree with what you're saying. And I have grown appreciation for RuPaul Drag Race, because I'm watching from the beginning through. But I was like, oh, I watch Dragula, I'm hooked. There's no chance I'll even like that other show. But I am enjoying it because I'm understanding the history and the growth of drag as an industry. But the American Idol is a great example. Is like people think every singer has to sound like an American Idol style pop star, when music is more than just pop. You know what I mean? Like, and I think David Grohl said it best, our Lord and Savior David Grohl, that, Nirvana was a band of a bunch of really shitty musicians who got in a garage and beat and banged on instruments and strings and they sucked really bad. And they just worked and worked and worked until they found who they were. Like Ozzy Osbourne would never win a singing competition, but his voice is iconic. You know what I mean? And that's where that the path of more resistance is more beneficial later on, because you have more of that self-gratification because you took a different route.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's definitely what I'm fighting now, because I'm having people, like, for example, I had a audience member on my show on Saturday night come up to me being like, I've been following you on social media for years. I love your drag, the style of drag, the things you do. I'm so excited that I finally got to meet you, because I love you for the fact that, like, you're doing this style of drag and this kind of drag that's different from everybody else when I go to these shows. So, like, that right there is like big motivation for me to be like, okay, well, there's other people out there like me and they want to see this at these shows. So I need to keep doing this, because, at the end of the day, even if one person, listen, you're always going to have your haters. No matter what you do, you're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be at least one person that hates you. But at the same time, there's also going to be at least one person in the audience that loves the fuck out of you and everything that you do from start to finish. And for me, it's about that person. As long as there's one person in the audience who is like in it, like, yes, that's the best thing I've ever seen, and just loving my performance, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. So kind of go back to that question. What is something about your industry that you would change? And it doesn't have to be internally. It could be the way it's externally seen as well.
I would probably say something big thing to change about the industry, like externally, would be the drama and the cattiness, for sure. I think there's sometimes a lot of that goes on, whether that's I don't know, queens, kings, whatever. Entertainers may have their beef, their drama, or whatever, but like, I just don't like this. And again, I hate referencing Drag Race all the time, but it's true. Like, people don't realize that that's a reality show. Like, those queens aren't going on there with the intention that, oh, I'm going to be a bitch to this other queen. Like, that's not their intention. That's not what they're doing. They're there to show off their artistry and win that prize. You know what I mean? But since it's reality TV, a lot of times they're like, for lack of better words, paying them against each other to create drama because they got to win that Emmy, you know what I mean? And sometimes it kind of like that whole aspect and just the drag community like has that drama. And I just wish there wasn't, because like we're all here doing the same thing. We're all here trying to express ourselves artistically, trying to create things and trying to share our love of drag with a community who also loves drag, whether that be our internal community, external community, whatever. So I don't understand why there has to be so much like drama and fighting and sometimes even hate with each other. Like, you don't have to love and kiss the ass of the next entertainer in the room with you, but you have to respect them for the hustle.
Yeah, that's honestly, I was just having a conversation, and that was one of the first things too. To like, the biggest thing at the end of the day is, and I'll give full credit. Trixie Valentine said, at the end of the day, we all get caught up in it. Even when we hate it, we all somehow get caught up into it. But the biggest thing is like the world outside of us don't for the most part like our art and like who we are, and we're not accepted, and we're part of a community that is under attack. But the respect aspect of each other, that we're all going through this war together, that has to be more to the forefront. And I thought that was really special and beautiful, and I hope that changes as well, because wrestling's the same way, right? So like, it's wrestling and drag are not things you can go to work at the water cooler and be like, I went to a wrestling show this week, and you're like, grow up, kid. You know what I mean? Like, you're still watching wrestling. Like, or you go to a drag show and you're like, I went to a drag show, and they're like, that's like, for me at least, it's a straight white dude talking to other, be like, you go to a drag show, bro? Is that what you're into? And I was like, it's a beautiful art form. I love it. I think it's fun. Like, I'm not going there for any gratification. It's art. You know what I mean? But when it's already a thing that your people who support you have to find a way to show their expression and love, and sometimes they have to hide the fact that they support your industry. But when you're internally battling each other, that doesn't help the growth either, you know?
Oh, nope, it does not at all. And that's a big, like, you know, that internal thing. It sucks because like, we have to support each other. We have to be there for each other, because there's so much hate from outside of our community going against us. So many people trying to, you know, stop drag shows, ban drag in general. Like, there's so much of that going on. It's like, if we're also fighting internally, how are we going to band together to stop the external fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this though. I think if you even had a room full of drag queens or drag performers, drag kings, drag monsters, all in a room, and even if I put everyone in a room who hate each other, and then outside was a bunch of people with signs hating on the show itself, I bet you they'd bond. I bet you they'd bond real. Yeah. Don't get it twisted. If you fucking came for them in their industry, they'll become friends real quick.
Oh yeah. We like sit there in that dressing room and throw shit at each other, but the minute a motherfucker try to come for our art form, we're out there on the street. Bring it on.
Yeah, listen, just because they're in makeup and they're glamorous, I met a lot of real gangster ass fucking drag queens that will beat the dog shit out of you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some key moments or accomplishments that you feel you're really proud of so far in your industry?
For me personally,
yeah.
So I will say that doing that drag race competition was something that I was very very proud of, and I still am to this day, because it really helped me grow as an entertainer, both personally and professionally. But also like, it like helped me kind of find like my style of drag and my people, you know, because in that competition, I used my differences as my power against everyone else. Because in my season when I competed, there were a lot of queens who had been doing it a little longer than me, but they were the queens I competed with were very much that like, pretty girls, we're gonna perform pop music and things like that. So I used my like alternative punk rock side to do things like I said earlier, Alanis Morissette, things like that. So I used that as a way to stand out from them and really like channel like my love for like that like alternative different kind of styles of drag and things like that. And so that really, you know, doing that really helped me like, I mean, excel at the competition. There was 10 entertainers on my season. I made top 4. So I didn't think I was even going to, like, after week 1, I was like, oh shit, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to lose terribly and go home first. But to like, then like go so far and realize that like after the competition was over, you know, be like, well, I didn't win, but like the amount of growth that I've had personally and professionally, and the amount of like skills I've learned from makeup to hair to costuming, things like that, really helped take me to where I am today. And so I'm really thankful for that experience of doing drag race. And that's definitely like that's definitely the biggest like milestone for my drag career, because that really set me up for the path to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. How did you land the gig? Like, how did you get into the drag race?
So I was told by 2 other queens. I did a competition, and they were judges there. It was like a pageant kind of thing. And I did this competition, and afterwards they said, hey, so we see that you have something in you, and we want to, you know, help you kind of like unleash that, for lack of better words. So they said, we're doing this competition. It's at Science in Harrisburg. We know you're in Harrisburg. You should check it out. You know, you should sign up to compete. And I thought about it for a minute because I was like, oh, do I really want to compete again after I just did and I got my ass handed to me? Do I really want to do that again? But I said, you know what? I know, I talked to other people in the community who had done it before. And I said, you know what? It's at the end of the day, if I don't win, it's a good learning experience. It's something that's going to help me with my drag and get me set up for the future. So I really, went in there full force. And I said, I'm going to do this, whether I go home first or whether I win or somewhere in between. I'm going to do this because it's going to help me in the long run and really get me out there professionally. So I just showed up to Stallions and give me an application. I want to compete.
So, have you always gone by Skarlet Overkill, and how did you land the name? Where does the name derive from?
No, I didn't. So when I first started, my name was, oh my gosh, what was it? Ariana Divine. Ooh, it was cringe. It was because like at that time, when I started drag, the drag film I got into was more of that, the prettier pageantry girls. So I chose a name to kind of like go with the style. And I was kind of like trying to go in that realm. And then when I started to do more of the alternative and comedy and now like horror stuff, I was like, well, that name doesn't really fit with like the style of drag I want to do and things like that. So I changed my name. So I chose Skarlet and I said, okay, that's the first name. And I said, that was something to like kind of match the first name and just kind of like my style and things like that. And I'll give the credit, I was watching the Minions movie and the villain in that movie, his name is Skarlet Overkill. And I said, you know what? Her style, the badass, the villain, everything like that, I'm going to somehow wrap this into my drag. And so I already had the name Skarlet. I chose it with a K. I know in the movie hers with a C, and I think 2 T's, something like that.
I've never seen Minions, so I didn't know it came from that movie.
Yeah, well, so again, I chose the name Skarlet, and I spell it the way I spell it. So a lot of times, some people spell it with a C or 2 T's because of like the way it's in the Minions movie. And then when I saw that, I had the first name already, like I said, but I was still trying to think of a last name. And when I saw that and her name Overkill, I said, you know what? Consider it stolen.
Yeah, taking it.
Taking it right now.
Yeah. It's a good Scream Queen name too.
It is, like, and that was my kind of thing. Like now, the style of drag I do, my name fits right. So Skarlet is more of like that sexy, sultry kind of like style. I love to do things where I'm, like I think I told you earlier, I did a number on Saturday that was like burlesque. I stripped down like panties and pasties. So Skarlet's definitely more of my sultry, sexy kind of side, and then the Overkill is just the Overkill, the horror aspect and just the heavy makeup and the blood and the gore. And so I think it's a perfect name because I mix those two styles and how I express myself in drag. I think the name fits perfectly.
Yeah. Now, when you do drag shows and you're it's more at a club format where it's 18, 21 plus, and then you do all age shows, how do you adjust your performance to fit the mood of the show?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I definitely do. As someone, I was a former Harrisburg Pride title holder. Every summer, Gettysburg Pride, York Pride, all of them, traveling all over, doing all the Pride events. So I definitely, in that aspect, lean more towards my, color. I lean more into like a colorful kind of like bright, like bubbly personality because I know that there's going to be children there. So I know, well, I can't be stripping. I can't be covered in blood because there's going to be 8-year-olds in the audience. So then I definitely do more of that pop music and the bright, colorful, upbeat stuff. And then nightclubs, I usually lean more into my spooky, sultry kind of side. But I like it. I like that balance because it gives me more opportunity to play with drag and to try and experience different stuff because then it's like, I know going into it, okay, well, this show I have to be PG or family friendly. So I'm going to do something bright and colorful and poppy. But then this show is 21 plus and it's, at a nightclub. So I can be something spooky and sexy. So I like that I have that like opportunity to kind of play with the different worlds of drag and sometimes even blend them together.
Yeah. Who are some influences or role models that you look up to?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, obviously the Boulet brothers and all those entertainers from Dragula, Huge fans of all of them.
Which, by the way, just turned me on to the ABJ Podcast. I'm fucked. That's all I'm listening to.
And everyone listening, check out Creatures of the Night from the Boulet brothers. You will love it. It's really good. If you're someone who's into horror, they do a lot of reviews on horror movies. So definitely check it out. But yeah, obviously Boulet brothers and the entertainers from Dragula, they're, big influences for like more of my horror spooky side of drag. Now, when it comes to like my like sultry, sexy kind of side of my drag, my big influencer is definitely Elvira. I love me some Elvira.
I have an Elvira back here in my pop collection.
Yes,
I have an Elvira. I have a Dr. Frankenfurter, and I have him the devil, all like in that three row there.
I love it. My next tattoo is probably going to be an Elvira tattoo, honestly. I
already have the him tattoo. I just got to figure out where I'm putting Elvira probably next.
Yes. I love it. Yeah, but no, she's definitely, just the big boobs, big hair, the cleavage is out, just that like, but then there's still the spooky horror aspect into it as well. But
and I'm sexy, but don't sexualize me.
Exactly.
It's very much empowered in her own sexuality. Elvira was so ahead of their time. So ahead of their time.
So ahead. That like, just like you were saying, being like sexy, but like don't sexualize me because I'm using like my looks and like the fact that I'm like giving you this like sultry side as like an empowering kind of thing, not as a sexual thing, which it just makes me love her even more. So I definitely draw a lot of like of that from her. But then like when it comes to like the pop colorful side, I mean, Lady Gaga, things like that. I love, but then I also do a lot of punk rock's kind of like my big thing to go to. Cause I feel like no matter if I'm doing Pride or I'm doing a nightclub, I can alter the punk rock some way. Like, for example, I can do, for Pride, I can perform Pink, but I can just do like the radio edit version. So there's no cursing or whatever. And just, everyone loves Pink, she's a huge artist across, many different generations and people. So I can definitely do things.
I personally think she's the pop goat, but nobody gives her enough credit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So definitely like things like, Pink and Avril Lavigne, even like Demi Lovato, like her rock stuff, like a lot of that punk rock and rock stuff by female artists is stuff that I really like. I draw inspiration from them because again, whether I'm doing Pride, I have to be bright and colorful, or I'm in a nightclub and I can be more grungy and punk rock. Either way, I can do Pink, Avril Lavigne, Demi Lovato, and they're big crowd pleasers to no matter what your audience is. So it's a way to really like bring it full circle. So I definitely draw a lot of inspiration from like those punk rock and like alternative and grungy kind of like artists as well.
Who are some people on the scene, the local scene, or even like the professional scene that you really look up to, or you think they're very, very talented that more people should know about?
Oh my gosh. In our area, if I'm talking about here in Harrisburg or Central PA, I mean, I could go on and on. People who, I kind of like started when I started drag that I kind of fell in love with, first there's Aurora Sterling. That's my drag mother, the Sterling Fontaine family that I'm part of. Any of those queens, they've been doing it for years and years. So talented, so seasoned, very entertaining. I love me some Miss Misfit. I love Jay DeVere's a big one. She is, she's definitely a big comedy queen. So definitely love her. But I mean, I could go on and on. Like a lot of the artists in this area, I'm very close with, friends with, etc., things like that. And I really like value and respect their opinions, their artistry, and their support.
Yeah. There was a question I had there that's not on the list that I lost it as we were talking. I'll come back to it. So outside of drag, what are some goals you have set for yourself personally in your industry that you have not hit yet that you're trying to get to?
I definitely want to travel more. Right now I do mostly all my drag here in Pennsylvania, whether, I'm doing it here in Central PA, Harrisburg area where I live, or whether I'm traveling to other cities and stuff throughout the state. But I definitely want to travel more and share my artistry with the world. Whether that be this, the USA or the world in general. Like I definitely want to travel more and, get out there and reach even more of an audience and share my artistry with more people out there. So it's definitely something that I want to do down the line. Don't want to jinx myself, but I definitely want to, explore maybe being a Dragula contestant in the future. So that's definitely on my list. So yeah, those are like two of my biggest goals right now is to, travel more.
As someone who just traveled to London, London is such a maybe it's just I've never been to like a big city in our country. I've never been to New York. I've never been to LA. I've never been to a big city, but I've been to London. Like New York's a 2-hour, 3-hour drive. I don't know what's wrong with me, but London's such like an accepting place. Like you walk down the street and there's flyers everywhere for drag shows, and there's like, theater and play and just the arts, and it just feels like it's not even something that's like you have to worry about. How do people think about that? Like how you have in like in America,
Yeah.
But also you look at some of their icons like Freddie and Elton, and what I mean, it's just like they paved a nice path for everybody,
Yeah,
But,
at the end of the day, Elton John's a drag queen. Come on, those costumes.
100%. Lady Gaga got it from Elton.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely. London's probably got to be a dope place for people in the community as well as the arts and the drag. Like when I was there, I didn't try to explore any drag shows, but next time I go, I'm definitely going to seek it out, like to see if there's a community like that in London, because I think it's got to be sick. Like it's got to be a lot of fun, because like even like London's got Camden, which is like the punk scene, and I wonder if there's like the punk drag, like how much of that carries over. Like even with your look, I was thinking to myself like, in a respectful way, because even if I feel she was still alive, she would probably fucking love it. But like, I feel if you put like a beehive on, you would look like zombie version Amy Winehouse. You know what I mean? Like, I think you could pull off a cool Amy Winehouse look.
It's so crazy you say that, because I literally just on Friday, was it Friday or Saturday? I just watched the Back to Black.
Yeah.
And it was so good to just like see her life and her like music, and then obviously unfortunately the addictions and her passing, like that. But just watching the movie and seeing her hair just get bigger and the beehive get bigger, I'm thinking to myself, I have this wig and I'm like, it's already fucking messy as shit. I could just pop a beehive out on top of here and do some Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, it's crazy because you walk around and you see Freddie and you see Elton and you see David Bowie and you see this, and there are people who have had long careers and did crazy things, and Amy obviously was cut so short, but she's just as much represented in London in that scene. And like Camden has like a statue of her that everyone puts bracelets and stuff on. It's just like, it's really cool how she's just as much remembered forever. She'll ever be eternal in that country because of her contributions to music and who she was as a person.
Yeah, it's so sad, like you said, her life was cut so short, because could you imagine if she was still around today, like the success she would have?
Yeah.
I mean, she already had massive success in the short amount of time that she was, on this earth. But like, if she was still around today,
yeah, she'd be a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we're talking about movies and horror and stuff. So what are some other interests that you have outside your industry that you do? So when you're unwinding, you're not performing, you're sitting at home. What are we doing?
Definitely, yeah. Love watching horror movies. Movies in general. I'm a big movie fan. Obviously horror is the big one, but I love like sci-fi. Huge Star Wars fan. I'm a fucking Star Wars nerd.
Okay.
Like, I love the movies, the TV shows on Disney Plus, all of it. Huge Star Wars fan. And then I'm also a Marvel nerd. I love all the Marvel movies. So definitely.
Who's your favorite hero? Your Marvel hero?
Oh,
it can go. I'll even say movie or comic book. I don't know if you're a comic book reader.
Favorite one. Ooh. So here's the thing. I like when I say, I shouldn't have just said Marvel. I should have said superheroes in general. I love superhero movies.
I lean more towards DC, but I like both.
Okay, cool. So I'm more Marvel, but I do love the DC movies. My brother's a huge Batman fan. So with that being said, I love me some Wonder Woman.
Okay, like, yeah. Actually, Lily said here, I don't know what you're doing. Is it next Friday? Yes, next Friday, the 26th in Philly. They're doing the Empire Strip. The Empire Strips Back. It's like a burlesque strip show, but it's all Star Wars themed in Philly. We're going to it. Yeah,
that's badass.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, but definitely enjoy, like, in my downtime, I definitely enjoy like watching movies. Again, everything I just listed. Um, I love to read. I just read a really good book. Being a horror person, that my boyfriend gave me on vacation, and it was called Tender is the Flesh, and it was this like futuristic like era where all animals on Earth were no longer like alive because they were poisoned, and so humans couldn't consume them. So now we're mass producing humans for other humans to eat.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really good book. I was on vacation high on the beach reading this book about cannibalism.
Yeah, it's a really good vegan book. It really flips the script on people. That'd be a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely
that kind of reminds me of Daywalkers. You ever see the movie Daywalkers, where the vampires kind of got to the point where they consume so many humans, so they start like farming humans and keeping them like in capsules so they can keep surviving. Like essentially, the vampires have taken over the world.
Yeah.
That was a good movie. So if you were to go to a show, or if someone's watching who wanted to get into this industry, what would be some advice you would have for someone new on how to get in or how to navigate the world of drag?
Absolutely. I would definitely say first, show up to drag shows. If you know that you want to get out there and get your name out there, just come to a drag show, whether you're in drag or not. In drag would probably be better, but it doesn't matter. Just show up to a show. Come as an audience member, watch the show. After you're done, approach the queens that performed and let them know that, you're interested in doing drag. You want to start doing drag. You don't know where to start, things of that nature, and just talk to them. There's a lot of, in this area, just most drag scenes in the cities and states across the country that do amateur night, that do competitions for new entertainers. So definitely come out to shows as an audience member, make yourself known, but then also like compete in those competition shows. Like I was saying earlier, I did the same thing. I didn't win. It was my first time on stage. I looked a hot mess.
You didn't win the competition, but you won with personal growth that advanced you further in your career.
Absolutely. And that's a big thing, telling these and new entertainers to come out and compete in those competition shows. Even if you don't win, you still were able to get on stage and put yourself out there and share your artistry with the audience member. And then that will help you open that door to that path into the drag world, So definitely do competition shows. And then just like, even in your own home, just practice. I mean, that's how I started. I sat in my bedroom multiple times watching any and every YouTube video I could find on how to do everything drag makeup wise, from drag queens who, were popular on YouTube or had been, on TV or, anything to that nature. I just watched their videos and taught myself and learned how to do makeup and, hair and things like that. So definitely like educate yourself and just like practice. All that stuff will help you get somewhere in the drag world, somewhere in the drag community for sure.
Awesome. So, last question here before we get out of here. And if anyone has any more in the chat, you can sneak them in before we get out of here. What are you grateful for? And are you currently happy?
What I'm grateful for. I'm definitely grateful for the drag career that I have. I mean, as someone who, pre-pandemic was working 4 days a week, drag was my full-time job. I didn't have a day job. So to then lose all that because of the pandemic, and now to, in this day and age, be back to where I am, I'm very thankful. A lot of us entertainers were very scared that when the pandemic hit, like, are we ever going to perform again? And if we do, what is that going to look like? Obviously, there's a lot of venues and things that were casualties of COVID, but I'm definitely thankful that through all the years of doing drag, the ups and downs, things like a pandemic, whatever, I'm so grateful that to this day, as I sit here and talk to you, that I can still do drag, whether I'm on a podcast, on a stage, whatever it may be, I'm still doing drag, and I just love doing drag. I'll do it in any way, shape, or form possible. So I'm very grateful for that. And as far as happy, I'm definitely happiest I've been in a long time. Like I said, I'm doing the drag. I have an amazing partner. who's very supportive of my drag as well. You know, I'm going to school to do stuff in makeup and skincare, which I love. So I definitely have a good life, and I'm very happy and grateful for everything that I've done, and I'm going to continue to do.
It's beautiful. Lily Witchcraft by Lily in the chat says, is there anything you want to explore with drag you haven't done yet?
Ooh, I definitely want to do more. It's new to me. I just started doing it probably this year, closer to like spring. So it's very new to me. But I definitely want to do more burlesque stuff. I started doing more performances where, you know, I'm stripping down all the way down from full dressed up to like panties and pasties, you know. So I definitely want to explore more of that burlesque world. Because again, earlier, I forgot to mention it when I was naming like influences. Aside from Elvira, Dita Von Teese, and I know she does a lot of that strip, you know, strip tease, the burlesque, things like that. So I definitely want to explore more and do more of the burlesque stuff in the future.
Yeah, burlesque is a really cool art form as well. I that was probably the first form of a lot of that I seen was the burlesque side of things. An idea I have. I always come up with stupid stuff while we're talking, but how you were saying before, like the blood, right? You said you poured blood all over you. I envision like doing a number where you come out in like the prom dress and then you're dancing and you're very like doing, and then at the very end you like walk back up on stage and you're waving and then just like the music kind of cuts, but it's the audio from Carrie and then the bucket gets dumped on your head and then that you're like, ah, you know what I mean? Like I like
yes,
yeah.
Yes, I have to do that. I would love that.
Yeah, I think that'd be sick. So like it's the music number, and then at the very end, it's like the audio of just the Carrie movie of like
just Carrie,
yeah.
Oh,
that's what it is. That literally, as we're talking, that's Trixie's movie. We're doing Carrie. As I was saying Carrie, I was like, that's what Trixie wanted to do. yeah. Sounds very Carrie. Get out of my head. Yeah. If you could tour the world for your content, what would be the ultimate goal destination?
Ooh, I definitely, since we're talking about
the person asking this is from Australia, by the way.
Okay, well, Australia's on my list.
I love Australia. I want to go visit them, but their fucking bugs and reptiles are not of this world, and just leave that shit down there. Yeah.
Literally, I don't want to be attacked by a bug that is as huge as me.
Yeah, like a spider that's as big as a Pomeranian. Like, no, fucking thank you.
Keep that there, no.
Yeah.
No, I would definitely love to, you know, Australia. But since we were talking about earlier, the UK, I, you know, watch the UK Drag Race, and even before UK Drag Race, just watching like drag artists from the UK, whether it be on like YouTube, Instagram, etc. Their style of drag is so unique and different from here in the US, but it's still so fucking good. And like you were saying, like the Camden, the punk, like, oh my gosh, to go there and like do some full on like punk rock horror, bring in like,
sit on the bridge with the rest of the punks.
Yeah, absolutely. To do that,
the food is so good in the Camden too. Most of the food in London sucks balls. I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking terrible. But Camden was really good.
Yeah, the UK, performing in the UK and getting there to like be part of that drag industry in that world there, it's definitely a goal destination for sure.
I would move there in a heartbeat. If I ever get rich and famous and I can, no offense, America, but if I can cut loose, that's where I'm going. I'm going to London.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that it rains almost every day of the week there. I'm all about it. You know what I mean? Like a good rain baptism. I don't want to worry about being shot. I mean, stab sucks. A lot of people got some knives there, but I'm not gonna worry about mass shootings. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy doing it. Real quick before we get in here too with the Overkill Cosmetics. So if people were to go on the website and order, and what all type of products you have, and what are some of your favorites that are on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to overkilledcosmetics.com. All my products that I sell are on there. Like I said, I ship directly from my home. All products are vegan and cruelty free. Some are even gluten free. As of now, I have lip liners, lipstick, lip gloss, and mascara. So I have mainly lip products. Mascara, like I said, is the first eye product. So I'm definitely gonna be adding more eye products throughout the my journey. Next, probably like things for like eyebrows and whatnot, but then like eyeshadows. So yeah, you can head to my website. All my products are there. you can see what I have, and then you can order from me. So yeah.
I want to put talk about this one drag person real quick. Lily, who's the drag performer that you showed me on TikTok who makes all the really fucking dope ass jackets? They make the sick jackets. They have a really cool name too. It's very 80s rock. They scrolled across our timelines. Silver Rocks. That's my baby. Fuck. Have you ever seen Silver Rocks?
No, they're on TikTok.
TikTok everywhere.
I'm gonna check them.
Unfucking real. Like, so they did one the other day where it was they did like Bob's Burgers and Linda, and they did both things, and then they made like this fucking leather jacket, but Beetlejuiced it all out, and like they literally cut the back of the jacket out, then made their own LED board and programmed the lights to fucking flash a certain way, and programmed everything and soldered it, and then put the fucking Beetlejuice sign on the but everything they make they raffle off online, but then they also give the blueprint away for free. So if people want to make that for themselves, like they're really cool. Check them out.
That's cool. Yeah, I definitely will check them out.
Yeah, Silver Rocks is a cool follow. But Skarlet, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I had such a good time. You've taught me so much more about the industry. How you were saying before, like how you said you're passionate about the London drag scene, and like the wrestling's the same way. Like people in California wrestle different than people in the Northeast, in Canada and London and Australia. And to hear that like that form of entertainment for drag is the same way, where it's like, now I want to seek out drag of London. And then, you know what I mean? Like it's Absolutely. Such a beautiful art form, and people need to stop judging it for what they're seeing on TV, and just go to a show yourself and experience it and realize that it is a beautiful form of art, and it's so much fun. And listen, as a straight dude, you can go. It's a blast. I promise. You're very Absolutely. Well accepted just as much. And just let your inhibitions down and have a good time. It's performance art, and it's beautiful, and everyone should experience it.
Absolutely. I always tell people, don't knock it till you try it. And I've had over the years many, and I still do, many people who come to drag shows and be like, this is my first time ever coming here. I never thought I would come to a drag show, but I had the best fucking day of my life.
The energy, like the room's energy is so much fucking fun. Like if you go there and if you're just like, no, like then go home. But like it's impossible to do that because everyone's having a blast.
Absolutely.
And seek it out if you're in, the Northeast PA, or if you're in the Harrisburg scene. Like there's so much going on in the Wilkes-Barre, the Harrisburg, not so much in School County. Hopefully we change that soon. But every time they try to do a drag show in School County, it gets shut down because people cry and bitch and moan, and then the business gets scared and they turn coat and run. But I think there's going to be a business. Hopefully, if I have a conversation with the owners, they're not afraid of any bullshit like that. And I think drag would work out pretty well there, but maybe we can get some shows there as well. So thank you so much, everyone. Please go and buy some Overkill cosmetics. Check them out. Lily will be buying some more of them and doing some reviews, so go support Lily's channel. Just did some makeup reviews when they did their Pride look and used some of the Skarlet's products. Love them to death. Like I said, that lip liner is going to stick all day long. And once again, thank you, and we'll definitely have you back to do a horror movie review, so we'll be in each other's DMs finding out some ideas from
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Make sure you go to social media, follow Skarlet, follow Skarlet's cosmetic page, their personal page, and also put in the comments, I'm here from the ABJ podcast. Let's show the worth here of our community here. Our cult is strong, and we need to show why our cult is taking over the world, the cult of ABJ. Check us out on Discord. Come join our community. It's a great place to hang out and do everything. I think I'm going to be adding, I'll just tell it right now, moderators, add a drag channel to the Discord, and we're going to showcase that as well, so we can put that out there. But we'll see you guys next time. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We will be back. Actually, we'll do this real quick. We'll be back. I will be a guest on the Anthony and Nettie podcast Thursday at 7 o'clock. I will share that all on my social media. We'll be back on Sunday for Tornado Tag Podcast. We'll be doing King of the Ring 95, one of the worst wrestling shows of all time, but we're going to review it because it's fun. And then we'll be back on Monday with Kim Rose, and we'll be reviewing I Saw the TV Glow. So come for that movie review. And we'll be ending the month with Sammy Chaos on Monday, professional wrestler. And on Tuesday, the original and founding member of Taking Back Sunday, Eddie Reyes, will be on the podcast talking about all things. I love Taking Back Sunday. We'll be talking about music and their journey as well. So stick around the ABJ podcast. We have so much stuff. If you want to be a guest, head over to my link tree. I have an email as well as a form you can fill out to be a guest. Please hit me up. I'd love to have more people on the podcast of different arts and genres. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.